The viewing chamber hummed with quiet reverence as Professor Velthar's three eyes swept across the assembled students. The Galactic Academy's xenoarchaeology class represented 12 different species, their various appendages poised over datapads, ready to document what their instructor called the most significant find of the century. Lisa Chen stood at the back of the chamber, arms crossed, watching the display with barely concealed amusement. The human exchange student had earned a reputation for asking uncomfortable questions, much to the chagrin of her instructors. "Behold," Velthar announced, his crystalline voice resonating through the chamber's audio enhancers. "The technological pinnacle of the Lost Ones. This civilization vanished 3,000 years ago, leaving behind only scattered ruins and these remarkable artifacts." The holographic display flickered to life, showcasing a sleek device no larger than a Zentari's primary hand. Its surface was smooth, featureless save for a single glowing interface panel. The design spoke of elegance, of a species that had mastered the art of miniaturization. "This computational device," Velthar continued, "represents technology we've only recently begun to understand: quantum processing, neural interfaces, self-repairing nanomaterials." The Lost Ones were clearly centuries ahead of their time. A Calvaxian student, her tentacles quivering with excitement, raised a limb. "Professor, the power source alone would revolutionize our current technology. How did they achieve such efficiency?" "An excellent question, Shiranek. Our best Keno-engineers estimate it's a smartphone." The chamber fell silent. All eyes and their various equivalents turned toward Lisa. Velthar's middle eye fixed on her with what might have been irritation. "I beg your pardon, Cadet Chen." Lisa pushed off from the wall and approached the hologram, her boots echoing in the sudden quiet. "This remarkable artifact from your lost civilization? It's a smartphone. Specifically, looks like a 2087 model. My grandmother had one." The professor's skin shifted through several colors, a sign of confusion among his species. "That's impossible. The dating is conclusive. This artifact is 3,000 years old. Yeah, from Earth." Lisa pulled out her own device, decidedly more archaic looking, with physical buttons and a cracked screen. "See, that's what you guys don't get about humans. We don't throw things away just because something newer comes along." Jackson Morrison, the only other human in the class, laughed from his seat near the front. "Oh man. Is this the Bellwood 3 dig? I heard about this." "Wait," interjected a Vornathi student, his scales rippling with confusion. "You're saying humans deliberately use inferior technology?" Lisa grinned. "Inferior? My phone's 30 years old. I've dropped it off a cliff, left it in a river for 2 days, and once used it to hammer in a tent stake. Still works. Your fancy quantum whatever would brick itself if you sneezed on it wrong." "But the efficiency," protested Shiranek. "The processing power means nothing if you can't repair it yourself." Jackson interjected, standing up. "That 2087 model? Beautiful piece of tech, sure. Know what happened to them? Planned obsolescence hit about 5 years later. The manufacturers made them impossible to fix. Sealed units, proprietary everything. People got sick of it." Lisa nodded enthusiastically. "That's why we went back to modular designs. My phone? I can swap out any component with a basic toolkit. Jackson's is even older. What is that? A 2031? 2029, actually. With a 2045 battery and a custom motherboard I printed last year." Jackson held up his device with pride. "Runs better than the day it was made." Professor Velthar's colors had shifted to a pale blue, the Zentari equivalent of a headache. "Let me understand this correctly. Humanity developed sophisticated technology, then voluntarily regressed to more primitive designs?" "We didn't regress," Lisa said firmly. "We learned. The Lost Ones, and yeah. Calling them that is pretty funny, considering they were probably just a colony that got cut off during the expansion wars. They learned the same lesson We all did, eventually. High-tech is great until it breaks. And it always breaks. She walked around the hologram, examining it from different angles. You know what happened to Earth's smartphone era? Mountains of electronic waste, billions of devices, irreparable, piling up. Toxic materials everywhere. We couldn't sustain it. The simplicity accords, Jackson added, his voice taking on a lecturer's tone. 2067. Major tech companies agreed to right-to-repair standards, modular design requirements, and 20-year minimum support lifespans. Changed everything. A small, insectoid student named Clicktat spoke up, his translator rendering his chirps into standard. But surely advancement requires embracing new technology? Advancement requires sustainability, Lisa countered. What good is quantum processing if the device is trash in 5 years? My grandmother's smartphone, that one you're so impressed with, lasted her 8 years. Then it bricked because the company shut down the authentication servers. She couldn't even use it as a paperweight because the battery would have eventually leaked. My grandfather's phone, though? Jackson smiled. He bought it in 2035. Gave it to my dad in 2061. Dad gave it to me in 2089. 94 years old and still makes calls. That's what I call advanced technology. Professor Velthar was silent for a long moment, his 3 eyes processing this information. Finally, he spoke, his voice thoughtful. So when humans joined the galactic community and saw our technology, we were polite, Lisa said diplomatically. Barely, Jackson muttered. We recognized the same patterns, Lisa continued. Elegant designs that prioritize novelty over longevity. Impressive capabilities locked behind proprietary systems. Technology designed to be replaced, not repaired. Shiranek's tentacles drooped. I replaced my datapad 3 times last year because of software incompatibilities. And I've had the same one for 15 years, Lisa said, pulling out her battered, heavily modified datapad. Custom firmware, open source everything, and held together with determination and possibly some chewing gum. But it works. The professor turned back to the hologram, seeing it with new eyes. The lost ones weren't lost because they were primitive. They were lost because their technology was unsustainable, probably. Jackson agreed. That. Or they just moved and didn't bother taking all their junk. We found a colony ship graveyard in that system too. They likely just packed up the stuff worth keeping and left the rest. The older model, Velthar said slowly, understanding dawning. You preferred the older model. Because it was better. Lisa's grin was almost predatory. Now you're getting it. Humanity learned a long time ago. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if it is broke, make sure you can fix it yourself. The rest of the galaxy's still learning that lesson. She looked around at her fellow students, at their expensive, delicate technology. Give it another 1,000 years. You'll figure it out. The class sat in stunned silence as Lisa and Jackson returned to their seats, both pulling out actual paper notebooks to take notes. Around them, several students glanced down at their own devices with new, uncertain eyes. Professor Velthar cleared his throat, all 3 of them. Well then, let's move on to the next artifact. Though I suspect, he added with what might have been humor, that Cadet Chen will have opinions about those as well. From the back of the chamber, Lisa's voice rang out cheerfully. Oh, is that a Bluetooth speaker? Those were terrible. Let me tell you about the 3.5 millimeters jack. Jackson groaned and sank lower in his seat, but he was smiling. Some lessons, it seemed, were universal, even if it took 3,000 years and a pair of stubborn humans to teach them. The end.